good morning. How are you guys today? Oh, Kids Rock, I miss you so much. I can't wait till we're back together. I'm praying for you and I love you. Today I'm going to teach you about Samson. He's one of my favorite characters in the Bible. And his story comes from the book of Judges, which is in the Old Testament between Joshua and Ruth. He was very strong. God had blessed him with supernatural strength. And when he was a young boy, when he was born, he was dedicated to God. Um, the people who were not born from the tribe of Levi, who were the people that ministered in the temple, they wanted to, when their family wanted to dedicate him to the Lord, they were called Nazarites. And he was given strict instructions, like he couldn't cut his hair, he couldn't drink alcohol, and I think there were a few more. But he had rules that he had to follow. Well, he kind of got like a big head. Do you know what that means? A big head means too much pride in your own strength and your own abilities. And what happens when something like a bubble keeps getting bigger and bigger? Pop, you know? So that's what happened to Samson. His life sort of popped. Now, I'm going to read some of his story from Judges chapter 16, verses 4 through 22. Sometime later in his life, Samson fell in love with a woman named Delilah, and she was from the Philistine nation. And God had allowed Israel to be taken over by the Philistines. So they were kind of running things. And they came to her and they asked her to find out where Samson's strength came from. Because he didn't tell anybody, neither did his mom. Well, she asked him, and he said, well, if you tie me up with new bowstrings, my strength will be completely gone, and that's when I'll lose my strength. And so he fell asleep, and she completely gone, and that's when I'll lose my strength. And so he fell asleep, and she did it. She tied him up with bowstrings, and then she had hid the men in her house, inside the Philistine men inside her house, and she yelled, "Samson, the Philistines are coming to get you!" And he jumped up, broke the bowstrings like they were nothing, and fought his way free. And then she got pouty, and she got upset and said, "You're playing a joke on me, and you're not telling me the truth." And so he said, "Well, if you tie me up with new rope." And so she did it. He fell asleep, and she did it again. And "Samson, the Philistines are coming to get you." Well, Samson broke the ropes like it was thread, like it was easy. And she's mad at him again, pouting, saying, "You're just tricking me. You don't love me." You know, trying to get the reason why he's strong, or how to make him not strong. And he tricked her one more time. And so she got really upset, and she's pouting, and she's nagging him, and she says, "You don't love me. How can you say you love me?" Finally, he gets so tired of hearing it, he tells her that if she shaves his hair off, that he will lose his strength. And that's really how he'll lose his strength. And he wasn't supposed to tell her, but he tells her, because he's tired of hearing her nag. And when he falls asleep, she shaves his head, and all of his strength leaves his body that the Lord gave him. Well, the Philistines come in, and she shouts, "Samson, the Philistines are coming to get you." And they get him, and he's so weak, and they tie him up, and they actually poked his eyes out. I know it's gross, I'm sorry, but they did, and they made him a slave, and they made him run the mill, kind of like a donkey that they used to tie up to the old-fashioned mills. Well, they tied Samson to one, and he would turn the thing to grind the wheat. And in that time that he was doing that, he was talking to God, and he was telling God how sorry he was, and his heart changed. He didn't have pride in his own strength anymore, talking to God. And he was telling God how sorry he was, and his heart changed. He didn't have pride in his own strength anymore because he didn't have strength anymore. And he repented. That means he told God he was really sorry, and uh, he said to God he was really sorry. Well, one day the Philistine leaders took him, had him brought to this big temple, and he asked to be put between two pillars. He was blind, they probably figured he was just trying to, hold himself up. And he prayed for God to give him strength one more time so that he could defeat his enemies, so he could defeat God's enemies. And God did, because he had repented and said he was sorry, and he was giving God the glory for his strength. And he knocked those pillars down, and the whole building came crashing down. And it killed everybody, including Sampson. Which is sad, but in the end, Sampson was giving God the glory for his strength and not taking pride in it himself, thinking that it was just him. Well, what we got to remember is that all good things in our life come from God. Every blessing that we had, God gives us, or God gave us. So we shouldn't let pride give us a big head like Samson. Because, if we don't always thank God and give him the glory, which means the praise and the credit for the good things in our life, then our heads are going to be big and it's going to pop. Our life is going to pop like Samson's did. And so remember, everybody, to give God the credit for the good things in your life, for your talents and your gifts. Don't take pride in what you can do, because all of it comes from God. I love you. Bye.